Are you serious? They said, really? Well, what if I don't want to believe? Look down at verse 28 of chapter 7. Now he makes here an unambiguous statement that we'll use as a starting point. And go down to verse 28. I say to you, among those born of woman, and that would be all of us, there is no one greater than John. Now, he's not going to get an argument about that from the people. This is about greatness. This is about greatness. Back in chapter 1, when the angels had come to Zacharias, John's father, who had never been able to have children, the Lord came to Zacharias and told him in John 1:13, don't be afraid, you and your wife Elizabeth are going to have a son. Right, Lord. Now I agree with that. I'm 80, I'm 90, she's 80, sure. Can you imagine an 80-year-old woman thinking she's going to have a baby? And the angel said, you are going to have a baby, and his name is going to be called John, and he's going to be a forerunner, and he's going to predict to you Jesus is coming. Zacharias knew his Bible, and he said, the Bible said there's going to be a forerunner, and he and his wife are going to be the parents of the forerunner of Jesus. So he knew that when John the Baptist was going to be born, that he was going to predict Jesus. And he knew that very quickly in that generation that Jesus was going to come. How great? How do you define greatness? There's a question that I ask myself. Well, then how do you and I define greatness? Oh, I know we define greatness Michael Jordan, or Lucy Liu, or Superman, or Batman, or we define greatness as President Obama or Donald Trump. Jesus answers how great is. Among them that are born of woman, no greater than no one. This then is to say, he's the greatest man who ever lived. The greatest man who ever lived. That phrase, among them that are born of woman, was simply a collage way of saying among human beings, because there was one who was saying this that was greater than John. There's only one greater than John the Baptist, and that is the one, Jesus Christ. And you want to know something? That is an ambiguous statement. That crystal clear statement really wouldn't get an argument, at least from the surface, because the people had made very clear their belief that John was a prophet of God, heralding the coming of the Messiah, and a person who was preaching Jesus' coming must be the greatest person who ever lived. And we would talk about greatness from a worldly viewpoint. You ask yourself, who is the greatest person living today? You sure wouldn't say Charles Whisnant. He's not written a book. He's not made a movie. He's not a millionaire. He's never ran for president or any other office. There's no way he's great. What has he done to be great? There's not going to be no statue made. Can't get anybody to come here and preach, you know. He ain't great. He's not won the Pulitzer Prize or Nobel Prize and all those other prizes and Lifetime Achievement Award. I've never got an Oscar for my sermon. I've never got an Emmy. I've never got a Most Valuable Player and an All-Star honor for being such a wonderful, terrific person. I've never got a medical honor, a literary honor, and on it goes. I mean, we're really deep into giving people honor. We like that. Boy, television for the next 2 months about honoring people that do all this stuff. There's a world champion with everything. Everything. Absolutely everything. Conceivable and inconceivable. Everybody's got to have a reward. And the illusion of greatness can be bought by money. It can be gained by political position. It can be garnished by media exposure. Boy, they made that guy to be the best boxer of all time last night. McGregor. I mean, he was the face of boxing. There's no way he could lose. I mean, there was no betting on the other guy because there's no way this floppy 10 person could lose. They build him up as being the greatest. He got knocked out by the other guy. The media tried to picture him, and same thing with Holly, you know, that beat Ross. That girl put a chokehold on her, and she went out like a light. She lost. The greatest of all boxers lost 2 of them last night. But God's standard, hear this, God's standard for greatness has just the absolute opposite of any of the silliness in the world. God never looks at all the accolades that's put on mankind and womankind in this world that they're considered great. And you certainly find that out when you look at John. The greatest man that ever lived had none of the normal criteria for which the world would give him any rewards. Our world would say he is absolutely an outcast. He's antisocial. He's anti-conventional. He's political incorrect. No, I'm not describing Donald Trump. He's insensitive. He calls people vipers and snakes. He's bothersome. He's irritating. He ought to be shut up. We need to get someone that's more presidential. That's exactly what Herod said, who represented the world. And he did it. Pulled him, put him in prison, and whacked off his head and served it on a platter at a party. That's what the world thought of John the Baptist. But what God said, Jesus said, he's the greatest man that's ever lived. Now, which one do you want to be? Do you want to be the greatest person that God says you are, or do you want to be the greatest person that's ever lived what the world says? You take the vote. Do you want to be the greatest person that God says live, or do you want to be the greatest person that the world says you are? You can get all the accolades you want at work. You can be named the best person in your class, the best person at work. You can get all these rewards for being the best person, and all of a sudden you think, man, I am a really good person. I'm the greatest person in my family. I'm the greatest person in my school. I'm the greatest basketball player there is. I'm the greatest everything. The world says that, but God says, you're not great. You're a poor sinner going to hell. The greatest person in the world lived in the wilderness. He got his food from the trees and the vines. He walked around most of his life. His home was out in the wilderness. Never wrote a book. He had no wealth. Came from a very humble family, a priest of Judea. He had absolutely no social prominence, no worldly stature, no education, no success, no achievement by any major of the world. He had no position. He built no organization, headed no institution. He wrote no books, left no sermons except for a few excerpts from his preaching, possessed no social position. owned nothing, had no particular charm. In fact, he was quite uncharming. Sounds like Donald Trump. And as far as we can test, he had no physical bearing. He didn't look nice. He must have had a lot of orange hair. He wouldn't have won any fashion awards, for sure. And Jesus said he was the greatest man that ever lived. Now let me tell you something. Do you want the world to say you're the greatest person in the world? Or do you want Jesus Christ to say you're the greatest person in the world? I think I'll take the latter with you. I'll take what John has and was. And if I live for Jesus Christ and preach His Word like He wants me to, then God is going to see me greater. I wrote no books. I'm not asked to preach a revival. I can only preach 1, 2, 3, 4 people. Where are they all at? I'm not being invited to give my opinion about the president. No newspaper has come by and said, Brother Charles, I'd like to have your opinion on the race. I don't see my name in the light. I get to preach in Medford. Get to live in McDermott. The world never knows who I am. And they would think I'm a failure. But guess what? Jesus Christ sees me as His Son. And I'm a child of a King. And for eternity and forever, I'll be in a kingdom of Jesus Christ forever, because I have chosen to follow Jesus because of His Son, Jesus Christ. Greater than Adam, greater than Noah, greater than Abraham, greater than Moses, greater than Joshua, greater than David, greater than Elijah, greater than Elisha, greater than Isaiah, greater than Jeremiah. In fact, you'd like to fill in the blank, you just read the names of Hebrews, of all the great people in Hebrews chapter 11. It's a staggering statement. The only person who was greater than John was Jesus, who was not just human, but was a God-man, the Son of the Most High, as well as the Son of Mary. So, Jesus was trying to push the people into believing. If you believe the message, if you believe John is a prophet, then you've got to believe that I am the one that He says is coming. And can I say to you, Jesus is the only person that you need for somebody to say, you're the greatest. Muhammad Ali, the greatest? Are you kidding me? I'd rather be known by Jesus as being the greatest servant that He's ever had. And when I get to heaven, He's a good and well servant, than to say, when I go to hell, well, you were the greatest basketball player that's ever lived. Well, I know you're down in hell, but you were the greatest boxer that ever lived. Well, you know, down in hell you won the Nobel Peace Prize. Do you know the list of things that the world put on you? And here you are in hell? What's wrong with that picture? The picture is God doesn't see you as one of His children. I want to be one of His children. I'm glad. I may not have anything in this world, but I got charity. And I have you. It is a joy to be able to have you here. You may not think that, but you know, I feel better when y'all are here. You know, I pouted when y'all went back to labor. I pouted for 4 months. However long you were gone, y'all came and I got used to you. It didn't. And I pouted.
So don't love.
I love you guys. And the Lord loves you too. Shall we pray? Father, we are very thankful. We just kind of got into this lesson. This passage in front of us really tells us why he was great. We'll have to come back next week to find out. I want to know how I can be great with God. I'm glad that he has shown me through his Son, Jesus Christ. And so as we ponder this message, I pray, Holy Spirit, that you would intervene and let our people grasp in their heart the message that you want them to have. We'll be careful to give you the praise. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Do you want to take up an offering?
So we'll take it off. Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll be eating here in a few minutes. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any ideas?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, say if like a baby's birth